The New York University Grossman School of Medicine. For this video, we get to start off with the Dark Knight trilogy, where the Joker blew up a hospital. First, though, I need to go into a very brief intro to nuclear physics for anyone who doesn't know. It's only one slide, don't worry, and there's only two nuclear phrases you need to understand: mass energy equivalence and mass times speed of light squared. That's it. Those two phrases. Mass energy equivalence is the concept. The formula is E equals mc squared, mass times speed of light squared. These are the two phrases I see popping up again and again with this cult. And here's your first example. The Manhattan Project in World War II, the first ever test of mass energy equivalence, July 16th, 1945, roughly 3 weeks before the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. This was the culmination of the Manhattan Project, which, not coincidentally, is where the targets are for this hospital. This test occurred 5:29 a.m., and you see why. 5:29 spells Manhattan. 5:29 a.m. is the 329th minute of the day, and that spells in the very first cipher mass times speed of light squared. That was how it went down that day when they produced the famous mushroom cloud, the first ever successful test of mass energy equivalence. So there you go. Now you understand. This one. You've got it. Now we can get into the video. In the Dark Knight trilogy, the Joker blew up a hospital. Everyone's seen this meme, I think. Most of you have seen the movie. I've seen the movie. Haven't seen many movies, but I've seen that one. So the Joker blew up a hospital. What do the franchise's 3 films have in common? And I'm going to tell you right up front. Not going to make you wait at all. They all point to the same place on the same day. The same hospital. And that hospital is Bellevue Hospital Center. This is the main release date for Batman Begins. Here is The Dark Knight, and here is The Dark Knight Rises. All 3 point to Bellevue Hospital Center. This is the official name, New York City Health and Hospitals / Bellevue. Got some big numbers here, well into the 4 digits, to get a huge level of confidence, because these are very, very hard numbers to hit. New York City Health and Hospitals / Bellevue is the official name, formerly known as Bellevue Hospital Center. I guess the casual name is Bellevue Hospital, but the official name, the former name. That's where they're pointing. Let's go through them one by one. Here is Batman Begins. Nationwide release date, main release date for the U.S., June 15th, 2005. Syncs up. Then you got The Dark Knight. Main release date, July 18th, 2008. Syncs up. And then you got The Dark Knight Rises, the main release date, July 20th, 2012. Syncs up perfectly. Look at this. This is the hospital they are pointing to. Without any question. There's even more evidence, but this is the real bottom line. They're telling you, this is what we're going to do. So those were the main release dates. What were the other release dates for? They were for neighbors. Look at this. We're nearly at 10,000 here. This is one of the Batman Begins release dates, 9154. Right across the street from Bellevue, there's the Alexandria Center for Life Science. There's an East Tower, which is right here, a West Tower right here. Stone's throw away. Spitting distance. So this isn't even a theory anymore. I mean, this is what's happening. This is what they're telling us. Got to decode the title too, The Dark Knight. Matches up with New York University School of Medicine A year or two ago, they started calling themselves the Grossman School of Medicine. 999 is a 666 upside down, and there is the serpent. Are there any other locations synced in the trilogy? There sure are. Batman Begins had a big train crash. Which train were they telling us? They were telling us New York Penn Station. Remember that big train crash in Batman Begins? That was Penn Station. How do we back this up from hard numbers? I noticed something from one of the Dark Knight release dates. When you sync to December 17th, you get mass times speed of light squared in a very big number. There was a nuclear weapon in Dark Knight Rises, wasn't there? But look at that. Mass times speed of light squared. Not good. What if we go back to the date we just saw a minute or two ago? The Manhattan Project test. We get Pennsylvania Station. So if you look at these side by side, start off at the Manhattan Project test. Go to the release date of the movie, Pennsylvania Station. Then take the Dark Knight up to December 17th, mass times speed of light squared. Not good. You don't want to be here on that date. Now you know why Alfred's last name was Pennyworth. Wait a minute. Alfred Thaddeus Crane Pennyworth. And by golly, he's synced himself. Amazing. So there should be no question that this is what this movie is doing. They're synchronizing names, locations with dates. This is all intentional. There's no possible way this could be some kind of accident. Anything else? Yes. We also get a few other locations, because this is a big strip, a very densely packed strip of hospitals and research centers here. And sometimes I can't even tell what the real target is. I know it's New York University, but there's so many hospitals affiliated with New York University, and they keep changing their names and changing ownership and consolidating. I don't know how anybody understands the maze that it is. But we also get Tisch Hospital and the Joan and Joel Smilow Research Center, something we're going to be seeing again and again. Here's the Smilow Center, and Tisch Hospital is around here somewhere. It's right about here, I think. Smilow Center. Didn't the Joker say he always smiles? Didn't he mention it again and again? Here, I'll remind you. I pulled the quotes off the internet. Let's put a smile on that face. My wife wants me to smile more. Now I'm always smiling. He had a big smile painted on his face, didn't he? Very, very subtle, and we'll see this again and again, like I said. Backed up in cold, hard numbers like everything else. Even if we just look at the years The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises were released, we get New York University, Grossman School of Medicine, Joan and Joel Smilow Research Center. What else? Here's one from The Dark Knight Rises. From the Manhattan Project to the first release date of that movie, 3496, New York University Langone Health. Here's Bellevue, here's the Smilow Center. Langone Health is around here somewhere. It's too densely packed. Now, The Dark Knight Rises was filmed in Pittsburgh at what used to be called Heinz Field. And here's why. It looks just like Pittsburgh and Heinz Field. See how useful gematria can be. Now, a few months ago, Heinz Field was renamed to Acrisure Stadium, or Acrisure Stadium. And that syncs up with The Dark Knight Rises also. All to the same day, December 17th, 2022. Now, this stadium is very close to Alcoa Corporation in Pittsburgh. Walking distance. Here's the stadium. Here's Alcoa. Alcoa is on Isabella Street, just like Bellevue Hospital Center. We'll get to what that means in the final video of this series. And it's right across the Rachel Carson Bridge. That was Batman's girlfriend, Rachel. And would you look at that? The title matches Alcoa Corporation. Now, Alcoa Corporation used to be called Alcoa Inc. until it broke up into two companies, and Alcoa itself stands for Aluminum Company of America. Sync from Batman Begins release dates. Really, only the 4-digit number matches what really matters, but for the record, I put them all in here. Alcoa Inc., Alcoa Corporation. From The Dark Knight, Alcoa Incorporated. From The Dark Knight Rises, Aluminum Company of America. And now is a good time to introduce you to the fact that zeros are ignored. Any zeros can be ignored. Just take the numbers, 386, 386. Not my rule. It's the way the cult does it. The Dark Knight series is dark. And I noticed that all of the characters have nuclear gematria. Batman, mass energy equivalents. Bane, mass energy equivalents. Joker, Ra's al Ghul, and especially Scarecrow, mass times speed of light squared. This is why these villains were chosen. No one even heard of Ra's al Ghul, I don't think, before that movie Batman Begins. So, Batman tells us a lot. What about Joker? It's not part of the trilogy, but it's still part of the Batman universe. Joker had more than one scene on a train. Remember, he shot some guys on the train. He ran from the police on the train. And just like Batman Begins, they're talking about New York, Pennsylvania Station. That's not as good as the last line, though. Do you remember the last line of the movie? You wouldn't get it. So he was in the mental hospital, and he was laughing to himself, and the therapist said, "What are you laughing at?" He said, "A joke." And she said, "Well, will you tell me?" And he said, "You wouldn't get it." What would he mean by that cryptic line? He means mass energy equivalence. And this is why they named him Arthur Fleck. All of the characters in Batman have nuclear gematria to their names. That's why they were named what they were named. That's why they were chosen as villains. This is why this guy was named Arthur Fleck. You're looking at it. So that's it for the Batman movies. I think it's heavy stuff. I think it's convincing. Just in case you aren't convinced, we get to go to The Simpsons. 2 episodes, especially episode 211. That episode was called Homer Simpson in Kidney Trouble, aired way back in 98. Now look what Homer said, blow up the hospital. I wouldn't even have looked at this episode, and I don't even remember how I found it, to tell you the truth. When I saw this, I immediately thought of the Joker. Sync the episode to December 17th, New York City. And I think it's understood that New York City means Manhattan. I mean, I know there's 5 boroughs to New York City, but I think it's understood that they mean Manhattan. Decode the title. Kidney Trouble. Children, they're talking about here. Kids. Kids of NYU Pediatric Emergency Room. Perelman Center. This is what they're talking about. And if you look at the map, they're right next to each other in that same strip of hospitals and research centers. They're also right next to Hassenfeld. We'll get to that in a minute. Is this the sink? Actually, I don't think so. It's hard to know what the titles of these places are sometimes, but I don't think this is it. I think this is it. This is what is now called Hassenfeld Children's Hospital. Used to be called Children's Health at NYU Hospital Center. Like it shows here. There's so many hospitals in that strip, I can't keep track of the maze. They keep changing their names. They keep changing affiliations. It's pretty annoying. But you see how close they are. They're close to the Smilow Center. And the Smilow Center is pointed to in this episode. I'll get to that in a minute. The chalkboard clue, what Bart was writing on the chalkboard. I am not a licensed hairstylist. They're telling us in a lot of different ways. Children's Health at NYU Hospital Center. And like I said, it points to the Smilow Center. The whole reason Grandpa needed a kidney transplant is because he drank too much sarsaparilla. Now, I didn't even know what that was when I first heard of it. I still haven't seen the episode. I just read this. Sarsaparilla comes from the Smilax plant. And let me stress, this is years before this Smilow Center was built. I don't think it matters. They know what the world's going to look like. Now, the chalkboard clue, I am not a hairstylist, that means Einstein. And Einstein means nuclear. Does anything say Einstein more than hair? No. Hair means Einstein. Einstein means nuclear. Let's go back to not the Manhattan Project, but a few weeks later when the bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Date from Hiroshima, because that's what that chalkboard clue is telling us. It's saying go back to Hiroshima. New York University, Grossman School of Medicine, in the very first cipher, Children's Health at NYU Hospital Center in reverse. This was episode 211, Tisch Hospital. All in that little quarter-mile strip. More importantly, it's the 47th prime. 47 is the Freemasons' number. But if you write out 47th prime, there's the Smilow Center. So this episode points to all the same locations from the Dark Knight trilogy. The NYU School of Medicine is what's targeted, but there are so many hospitals in that strip, and if you hit one, you pretty much hit them all. You do not want to be there. I want to give one last piece of evidence pointing to the Smilow Center, and that's Simpsons episode 666. Because if that doesn't tell us anything, nothing does. Episode 666 was a Halloween episode. No surprise there. As we planned from the beginning. I'm sure they did. 666 is a triangular number. That means if you add up every number from 1 to 36, you get 666. That's what it means to be the 36th triangular number. Treehouse of Horror 30. 36 triangular in Satanic. And you can see it also matches Joan and Joel Smilow Research Center. New York University School of Medicine, now called the Grossman School of Medicine. And there it is. This was the date episode 666 aired. December 17th. It just looks like this university. It just looks like this School of Medicine. 1712. And one last point. Here is the final decoded title, The Dark Knight. I had to put it somewhere. So, I hope this gets the point across. These entities, the School of Medicine is the real target. I'll tell you why in the final video, but every hospital I mentioned can be seen in this roughly quarter-mile stretch here. Very densely packed. Bellevue, Hassenfeld, the Smilow Center, everything. All along the East River in Manhattan. And like I said in the final video, we'll see that the NYU School of Medicine is targeted because it fits the theme. Watch the rest of the videos if you want to know, and then watch the final video. Thank you.